orphan girl abandoned on the trail by her stepmother, until the richest cowboy took her in. The sun hung low in the orange sky of the Martian frontier, casting long, dusty shadows across the barren trail. Leela hugged her thin coat tightly around her small frame, her boots scuffing the red dirt as she walked. The wind bit at her cheeks, carrying tiny grains of sand that stung like tiny needles. She looked back once, hoping to see her stepmother, but the path behind her was empty. Her stepmother had left her here hours ago, under the pretense of letting her find her own way. Leela knew better. She had overheard her stepmother whispering to the traders at the last settlement that she would be better off gone. Leela's stomach twisted at the thought, but she refused to cry. Not here, not now. Tears would only slow her down, and slowing down meant danger. The Martian frontier was unforgiving. Small settlements were scattered far apart and travelers were few. A wrong step could lead to dehydration, or worse, a dust storm strong enough to sweep away a small human. Leela kept moving, counting each step as if counting might somehow make the endless trail shorter. Her small pack felt heavier than it was. Inside were a few rations of dried protein bars, a half-empty water container, a thin blanket, and a locket with a tiny picture of her mother, the only family she had left. Her mother had passed years ago, leaving her in the care of her father's second wife. Leela had never been loved by her stepmother, but she had hoped that maybe, just maybe, the frontier life would make her stepmother soft. She had been wrong. Hours passed. The trail stretched endlessly. The horizon blurred in a heat shimmer that made the red rocks look like they were moving. Leela's throat was dry, and she ached from walking, but she kept going. Stopping meant giving up. Giving up meant becoming another forgotten soul lost in the Martian wilderness. By mid-afternoon, she spotted an abandoned mining outpost in the distance. Rusted metal structures leaned at odd angles, their paint long faded. Leela's heart lifted slightly. Even if no one was there, she might find shelter. She approached cautiously, keeping her eyes and ears alert. The outpost was silent. Doors hung open on their hinges, and broken equipment littered the ground. Leela pushed herself inside one of the buildings, finding a corner shielded from the wind. She unrolled her blanket and sat down, trying to rest. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, and she nibbled a protein bar, savoring every bite. As the sun sank lower, the shadows grew longer and Leela shivered. The Martian cold was unlike Earth's. The air itself seemed to bite. She tried to light a small heater, but the old power system had long since died. She huddled into her blanket, hugging herself for warmth, and whispered a small prayer. "Please, let someone find me." The wind howled outside, rattling the metal walls. Leela's eyes grew heavy and sleep threatened to pull her under, but she was too alert to fully rest. Every sound made her jump, the creak of metal, the howl of wind, the distant echo of rocks shifting. She couldn't forget her stepmother's face, smiling as she walked away. That memory fueled her determination. She would survive. She had to. Just as the first stars began to appear in the darkening Martian sky, Leela heard a faint hum. At first she thought it was the wind, but it grew louder, more rhythmic. Curious, she crept to the outpost's entrance and peered out. A strange sight met her eyes. A hover horse, gliding smoothly above the dusty ground, approached. Atop it sat a figure cloaked in a long coat, a wide-brimmed hat shadowing his face. Even from a distance, Leela could tell he was different from the few settlers she had seen. The way he moved, confident and unhurried, made her heart skip. The figure stopped a short distance away, dismounting gracefully. Leela froze, unsure whether to hide or call out. The man looked around carefully, scanning the trail. His gaze briefly met hers, and he gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. It wasn't threatening, it was noticing her. Leela stepped forward cautiously. "Hello." Her voice was small, almost lost in the wind. The man tilted his hat back slightly, revealing a kind, lined face. His eyes were sharp, almost like he could see right through her. "Hey there, little one," he said, his voice calm and warm. "What are you doing out here all alone?" Leela swallowed hard. My stepmother, she left me." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I don't have anywhere to go." The man's expression softened. He knelt down to her level, resting a hand on the hover horse for balance. "You're brave to be out here on your own," he said. "Not many could last a day, let alone hours. What's your name?" "Leela," she whispered. "I'm Jace," he replied. "I know the trail can be dangerous, especially for someone your size. You're lucky I came by." Leela felt a small flicker of hope. You'll help me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jace smiled faintly. "We'll see. First, let's get you somewhere safe." He gestured to the hover horse. "You can ride with me. I've got a shelter at my place and it's warm, food too, not the kind in a little bar, real food." Leela's eyes widened. She had never ridden a hover horse before, and the idea of leaving the trail felt like a dream. She nodded quickly, stepping forward. The ride was strange and exhilarating. The hover horse glided smoothly over rocks and dust, lifting gently over small ridges. Leela held on tight, the wind whipping her hair back. For the first time that day, she laughed, a short, breathless sound, but it was full of relief. She wasn't alone anymore. Jace didn't speak much during the ride, but Leela didn't mind. She watched the landscape, trying to memorize the ridges and rocks. Her mind, trained to survive, noticed small details, the direction of shadows, the patterns of dust in the wind. She realized that even in danger, humans could adapt. They could notice what machines or other beings might miss. By nightfall, they arrived at Jace's settlement, a small cluster of reinforced domes surrounded by terraces of cultivated Martian soil. It wasn't luxurious, but it was safe, warm, and alive. Lights glowed softly from inside the domes, and faint laughter echoed from one of the common areas. Jace led Leela inside, offering her a hot drink that smelled like roasted grains. She drank it slowly, savoring warmth and flavor she hadn't felt in days. "You did well today," Jace said as they settled near the fire. "Not just walking out here alone, but thinking ahead. You notice things, adapted, that's what humans do best." Leela tilted her head. "Humans?" she asked. "Yeah," Jace said. "You know humans. Small, fragile, but clever. You're not like a machine, you don't just follow instructions. You notice patterns, make choices, survive in ways others can't." He smiled, almost proud. "You've got that spark. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Leela felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe she wasn't just a scared, abandoned girl after all. Maybe she really could survive. As the fire crackled and the domes hummed with life, Leela realized that for the first time since her mother had passed, she didn't feel entirely alone. Someone believed in her. And maybe, just maybe, the long, harsh trail wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. She curled up on a small cot, her blanket tucked around her, and closed her eyes. Outside, the Martian wind still howled, but inside, for the first time in days, Leela felt safe. Tomorrow, she would begin to learn from Jace. Tomorrow, she would discover just how capable a human could be, even on a world as wild and unforgiving as Mars. For now, though, she allowed herself to rest. The next morning, Leela awoke to a soft hum from outside. The Martian sun had barely risen, and the light filtering through the dome's windows painted the floor in warm gold. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel the ache of loneliness in her chest. Instead, there was curiosity about the man who had saved her and the strange settlement she now called home. Jace had already started moving around. She could hear the quiet clanking of tools, the soft hiss of machinery, and the occasional call of his hover horse in the courtyard. Leela sat up, brushing her hair back, and watched him through the window. He moved with a calm confidence, handling each task with care and precision. Finally, he turned and saw her. "Good morning, Leela," he said, his voice carrying easily across the room. "Sleep well?" "Yeah," she replied, her voice small but steady. "The fire, it was warm." "Thank you," he nodded. "You're welcome, come on. Breakfast is almost ready, and then I want to show you around." Leela quickly dressed in a simple tunic and boots that Jace had laid out for her. They were slightly too big, but she didn't mind. She was amazed at the quiet efficiency of his settlement. The domes were small but organized. Pipes and wires ran along the walls, connecting to machines that hummed and clicked. Terraces of cultivated soil were visible through the outer windows, green patches in the red Martian landscape. Inside the main dome, Jace had prepared a simple meal of rehydrated grains and fruit. Leela sat at the table trying to eat, but her mind kept wandering to the strange man before her. "You must have questions," Jace said, noticing her gaze. He stirred his cup thoughtfully. "I'm not like the others out here. People call me a cowboy, but I deal with machines, traders, and wild terrain. Life on the frontier isn't easy. You need skills, courage, and cleverness. You've got at least one of those already." Leela swallowed, unsure whether he meant it as a compliment or a warning. "Skills?" she asked softly. "Like surviving." "Exactly," Jace said, smiling faintly. "Not just surviving, but thriving. Out here, humans have something machines don't. They can improvise, notice things others miss, and find solutions no AI could calculate. That's what makes us special." Leela's stomach tightened with pride. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. She nodded, determined to prove herself. After breakfast, Jace led her outside. The courtyard was alive with activity. Small drones hovered over the cultivated terraces, inspecting the plants, while automated machines transported soil and water. Hover horses grazed nearby, their metallic hooves clinking softly on the red dirt. Jace's hover horse, the one that had brought her to safety, was tied to a post. "First lesson," Jace said, "observe. The frontier is full of hidden dangers, but it's also full of opportunities. Humans notice patterns, make connections, and survive where machines fail. You're going to learn how." He pointed to a small device blinking on the ground. "That's a rogue scout drone. Sometimes these machines malfunction or are sent by rival settlements. Can you figure out what's wrong with it?" Leela knelt carefully, examining the device. She noticed a broken sensor and a frayed wire. Using a small toolkit Jace handed her, she repaired the wire and adjusted the sensor. The drone beeped softly and hovered steadily. Jace's eyes twinkled. "Good. You see, observation, patience, and thinking ahead. That's what keeps humans alive. Machines follow instructions. Humans think." The rest of the day was filled with lessons. Jace taught Leela how to navigate the settlement, handle hover horses, and read the subtle signs of Martian weather. They walked along the ridges, observing dust clouds that could signal incoming storms, and identifying safe paths through rocky terrain. Leela was a quick learner, her small hands and sharp mind adapting to every task. By midday, they approached a collapsed mining tunnel near the settlement's edge. "This used to be active," Jace explained. "Now it's mostly abandoned, but it can be dangerous. Rocks shift, dust settles, and old machines break down. A human needs to know how to move through places like this safely." Leela nodded, her curiosity ignited. She followed Jace carefully, her eyes scanning for loose stones and unstable walls. At one point, a small rockslide blocked their path. Without hesitation, Leela spotted a weak point in the wall and directed a controlled shift of debris to clear it. Jace looked impressed. "I see potential," he said quietly. "You're more than just a survivor, you're clever, resourceful human." As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the red rocks in deep orange and purple, they returned to the settlement. Leela's legs ached, but her heart raced with excitement. For the first time, she felt she belonged somewhere. Not just a place to hide from her stepmother, but a place where she could grow, learn, and be valued. That night, after another warm meal, Leela sat by the fire as Jace worked on a small hovercraft in the corner of the dome. Sparks flew from the tools and the hum of the machine filled the room. She watched him silently, fascinated by the way he handled every part with skill and care. "You've been quiet," Jace said, glancing at her. "What's on your mind?" I've never seen anyone like you, Leela admitted. Not just how you work, but how you care for all this. The machines, the plants, even the animals. And me, I guess. Jace paused and looked at her, his eyes softening. Humans have to care, he said. We notice details, remember them, and act. That's how we survive. That's how we thrive. Machines don't have that. You have it too, Leela. You just need to learn to trust yourself. Leela smiled faintly, feeling a warmth she hadn't known in years. I want to, she said. I want to learn. I don't want to be left behind again. You won't be, Jace promised. Not as long as I'm around. The night grew deep, and the stars above the Martian sky twinkled faintly. Leela lay on her cot, thinking about everything she had seen and learned. For the first time, she felt that the frontier wasn't just a place of danger. It was a place of possibility. A place where humans, with their courage, cleverness, and heart, could achieve things no machine could. Days turned into weeks, and Leela grew stronger. She learned to pilot the hovercraft, repair small machines, and navigate the treacherous trails surrounding the settlement. Every day, she impressed Jace with her adaptability. But the frontier wasn't just about learning, it was about proving oneself. One afternoon, a warning horn blared across the settlement. A dust storm was approaching, faster and stronger than usual. Leela grabbed her gear, ready to follow Jace to the safe domes. But the storm was fiercer than expected, tearing through the settlement with howling winds. Dust blinded the eyes and small rocks whirled through the air like missiles. Jace called out, "Stay close. Watch the markers." Leela's heart pounded, but she remembered everything he had taught her, the signs of safe paths, the low ridges that could block wind, and the strength of reinforced domes. She moved quickly, using her small size to her advantage, ducking under beams and sliding behind walls. When they finally reached the main dome, both were covered in dust but safe. Jace looked at her with a mix of pride and relief. "You did well," he said. "You stayed calm, observed, and acted. That's what humans do best." Leela smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. For the first time, she felt truly capable. She wasn't just a scared, abandoned girl anymore. She was learning to survive and thrive on a world that challenged everything humans thought they could handle. That night, as the storm raged outside, Leela lay by the fire and thought about the days ahead. She had a mentor, a home, and a purpose. And slowly, she realized something she hadn't dared hope before. Maybe she was meant for something greater than just survival. Maybe humans, small and fragile as they seemed, could conquer even the harshest frontier. And she would be one of them. The morning sun crept across the red Martian dunes, spilling light into the settlement. Leela awoke with a sense of purpose she had never felt before. Yesterday's storm had taught her more than she could have imagined about survival, observation, and human ingenuity. Today, Jace promised, would be about learning how to thrive. After a simple breakfast, Jace led Leela to a wide courtyard surrounded by the domes. Hovercrafts of different sizes were parked neatly along one edge, their metal bodies gleaming in the sunlight. Small drones buzzed overhead, inspecting the fields and the settlement's perimeter. "Today," Jace said, "you're going to learn more than just surviving. You'll learn how to work with machines, how to think ahead, and how to keep yourself and others safe. Humans are clever, that's our strength. You'll see why." Leela's eyes widened. She had repaired a drone once, but now she would work with entire hovercrafts. Her heart pounded with excitement. "First," Jace continued, "let's start with observation. A human notices details a machine might miss. Look around. What do you see?" Leela squinted at the courtyard. She noticed a crack in the wall near the dome's entrance, a loose cable dangling from one of the hovercrafts, and a small patch of soil that had dried faster than the rest. She pointed them out one by one. "Good," Jace said, nodding. "Details matter. In the frontier, missing one small sign can be dangerous. Humans notice patterns, think ahead, and act. Machines, well, they follow rules, but humans improvise." Next, Jace guided her to a hovercraft parked near a low dome. This is your first lesson in piloting. Don't worry about speed yet. I just want you to feel the controls, the weight, and how it responds to your movements." Leela climbed into the seat, her hands trembling slightly. She gripped the controls and pressed a few buttons. The hovercraft lifted gently, hovering just above the ground. The sensation was strange, like gliding on air, but she quickly adapted, following Jace's instructions to move forward, turn, and stop. "You're a quick learner," Jace said with a rare smile. "Most adults take weeks to get this. Humans have an advantage, the ability to adapt quickly to new challenges." After several practice runs, Leela moved on to maintenance. Jace showed her how to check fuel lines, inspect sensors, and tighten bolts. She learned that even a small mistake, a loose wire or a misaligned sensor, could cause a hovercraft to fail. Her small fingers worked carefully, mimicking his movements. She felt proud when she successfully repaired a minor malfunction on her first try. By midday, Jace led Leela to a rocky ridge outside the settlement. The frontier isn't just about technology, it's about strategy. Terrain, wind, dust storms, everything can be used to your advantage. Humans notice opportunities where machines see obstacles. He handed her a small scanner. "We're going to test your observation skills. I want you to find 3 safe paths through this ridge. Watch for loose rocks, hidden slopes, and areas where dust might gather." Leela studied the rocks carefully. She noticed a small ledge hidden by a shadow and a series of stones that could be used as stepping points. She pointed them out, explaining her reasoning. Jace nodded, clearly impressed. "You see patterns," he said. "That's the human edge. Machines might calculate a straight line, but humans understand risk and advantage. That's why humans can thrive in places others cannot." As the sun dipped low, they returned to the settlement. Leela's legs ached, but her mind buzzed with excitement. She had learned to pilot a hovercraft, repair machines, and read the terrain. She felt capable, stronger than she had ever imagined. Over the next few days, Jace's lessons became more challenging. He introduced her to small robots used for farming, teaching her how to program them for planting and irrigation. Leela quickly understood the logic, but she also added small improvements that made the robots more efficient. "You're thinking beyond the instructions," Jace said. "That's exactly what humans do best. Machines follow orders, humans innovate." One afternoon, Jace took Leela to the edge of the settlement, where a small canyon cut through the red rocks. "This is a training course," he said. "You'll have to navigate it using your skills, observation, strategy, and quick thinking. There's no direct path. You'll have to improvise." Leela stepped forward, her heart racing. The canyon was narrow in places, wide in others, with loose rocks and sharp turns. She remembered Jace's lessons: observe, plan, act. She moved carefully, placing her feet on stable rocks, adjusting her path when the terrain shifted. At one point, a small rock gave way beneath her foot. Instinctively, she grabbed a nearby ledge and swung herself onto a higher rock. Her pulse raced, but she continued. Halfway through, she encountered a small automated drone patrolling the canyon. Its sensors scanned her movement. Leela remembered Jace's words: humans notice patterns machines might miss. She used the rocks and shadows to move silently, staying out of the drone's path. When she reached the other side of the canyon, Jace was waiting. "You did very well," he said, pride in his voice. "You adapted, improvised, and stayed calm. That's exactly what humans are capable of. Machines don't do this, they follow instructions. You create solutions." Leela smiled, feeling a rush of accomplishment. For the first time, she realized that being human was a strength, not a weakness. She had survived abandonment, storms, and now the trials of the frontier, and she had done more than survive. She had thrived. As days turned into weeks, Leela continued her training. She learned how to negotiate with traders, how to navigate at night using the stars, and how to read subtle signs in the environment: dust patterns, temperature changes, and even the behavior of small animals. Each lesson reinforced Jace's teachings. Humans could adapt, think, and create in ways machines could not. One evening, as they rested near the settlement's perimeter, Jace handed Leela a small map. "Tomorrow," he said, "you'll take a short journey alone. It's not far, but it will test everything you've learned. You'll navigate, observe, and adapt. This is your first real test." Leela felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had trained for weeks, but the idea of being alone in the frontier was daunting. Still, she remembered Jace's words and her own determination. She would not fail. That night, she lay on her cot, thinking about her journey so far. She remembered the day she had been abandoned, the harsh trail, and the loneliness that had pressed down on her. Now she had skills, knowledge, and confidence. She was no longer the scared, helpless girl left behind by her stepmother. She was a human capable of facing challenges, solving problems, and surviving in a world that tested everything. As she drifted to sleep, Leela felt a quiet excitement. Tomorrow would be a new adventure, a test of everything she had learned. She thought of Jace, of the settlement, and of the frontier stretching endlessly around her. She was ready. The Martian sky outside her dome was filled with stars, and the faint hum of machines provided a comforting background. Leela closed her eyes, imagining herself navigating the canyon, piloting the hovercraft, and outsmarting challenges. She felt a sense of pride and anticipation she had never known before. Tomorrow she would prove to herself, and to Jace, that she was more than abandoned. She was human, clever, resourceful, brave, and capable. And in the vast, unforgiving Martian frontier, that made all the difference. The morning sun rose pale and weak over the Martian frontier, casting long shadows across the red dunes. Leela woke with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was her first solo journey, the test Jace had promised. She dressed quickly, packed her essentials, a water container, some protein bars, her small toolkit, and the scanner Jace had taught her to use, and stepped outside. The settlement was quiet. Hovercrafts hummed softly in the distance, and a few drones patrolled the cultivated terraces. Jace appeared behind her, giving her a nod. "Remember," he said, "observe, adapt, and think ahead. Stay calm and you'll do fine, trust yourself." Leela nodded, her heart pounding. "I will," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. The path Jace had marked was short, only a few kilometers across rocky terrain, but it would test everything she had learned: navigation, observation, and adaptability. Leela began walking, her eyes scanning the terrain. Dust swirled in small spirals across the rocks, and the wind carried faint echoes of shifting stones. She noted every detail: the slope of the hills, the cracks in rocks, and the dry patches of soil that might indicate loose ground. After about an hour, Leela reached the edge of a small canyon. According to Jace's instructions, she had to find a path across without falling or making unnecessary noise. She examined the rocks carefully, placing her feet on stable surfaces and using her hands to steady herself. Halfway across, she heard a faint mechanical whirring behind her. She froze. The sound was unlike anything she had heard before, a swarm of small drones, hovering just above the ground, scanning the area. Leela's mind raced. These were not the friendly drones of the settlement. Something was wrong. Her first thought was to retreat, but she remembered Jace's lessons. Observe first, then act. She scanned the drones, noting their pattern. They moved in a precise, synchronized way, likely controlled by some central command. That meant they were not random. They were sent. Leela ducked behind a rock, hiding from the small swarm. She realized that she could use the terrain to her advantage. The rocks could block sensors, and the canyon walls could hide her movements. Carefully, she crept along, staying in shadows, her small size allowing her to move faster than the drones expected. Suddenly, one of the drones detected movement and moved closer. Leela held her breath, thinking quickly. She noticed a small pile of loose rocks above her. With a swift push, she triggered a minor rock slide. The noise drew the drone's attention, but the rocks also blocked their sensors for a moment. She seized the opportunity and darted to the next hiding spot. By the time she reached the other side of the canyon, she was panting but unharmed. Her heart raced with exhilaration. She had outsmarted the drones using observation, quick thinking, and her understanding of the terrain, everything Jace had taught her. Leela continued along the trail, moving cautiously. After a short distance, she reached a plateau with a wide view of the surrounding area. From this vantage point, she could see dust clouds rising in the distance. They weren't natural, something was moving across the plains. Settlers from a rival colony had sent a group of rogue AI machines, likely to claim the frontier and resources near Jace's settlement. Leela's mind worked quickly. She had to warn the settlement, but she also had to survive long enough to reach it. She remembered the small hovercraft parked at the edge of the plateau. Using her knowledge of piloting, she climbed into it and started the engine. The hovercraft lifted smoothly, gliding over the rough terrain. The AI machines noticed her movement immediately, sending several small drones to intercept. Leela's heart pounded, but she stayed calm. She remembered how the canyon had helped her earlier. Using the uneven terrain, she zigzagged, avoiding direct paths and hiding behind ridges. The machines followed predictable patterns, but she improvised, changing her course at unexpected times. Reaching the settlement, she saw the domes in the distance. The rogue machines were still approaching, and the settlers had begun to panic. Leela didn't have time to think, she acted. Using the hovercraft, she positioned herself on a small ridge overlooking the machines. From this vantage point, she noticed a flaw. The machine's sensors were aligned to detect direct movement, but not rapid changes in elevation. She quickly devised a plan. Leela guided several drones into the machine's path, triggering a misalignment in their sensors. The AI machines began to stumble, their programming unable to adapt to her unpredictable movements. Using her small toolkit, she deployed temporary signal jammers she had learned to create during her training. The machines froze momentarily, giving her time to retreat to the settlement. Jace and the other settlers watched in amazement as Leela returned, unscathed and victorious. "You did it," Jace said, his voice filled with pride. "You used your mind, your instincts, and the terrain. That's what humans do best. Machines can calculate, but humans adapt." Leela felt a rush of relief and pride. She had faced her first real external threat and had survived by using everything she had learned. She realized that being small, clever, and observant could make a difference, even against machines designed to be perfect. The settlers quickly fortified the domes, inspired by Leela's actions. Jace worked alongside her, teaching other young humans the strategy she had used. For the first time, Leela felt that her actions mattered not just for herself, but for the entire settlement. Her skills had saved lives and given hope to everyone. As the dust settled and the rogue machines retreated, Leela and Jace sat together near the central dome. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the red landscape. "You've changed today," Jace said quietly. "You were brave, clever, and quick. That's what makes humans special. We survive where others fail, and you've proven yourself." Leela smiled faintly. For the first time, she felt truly proud of herself. The fear of being abandoned had not disappeared completely, but it had been replaced with confidence. She realized that humans, even small and fragile ones like her, could make a difference in the harshest places. That night, as the settlement settled into quiet after the day's chaos, Leela lay on her cot, thinking about everything she had learned. She had faced a real threat, used her ingenuity to survive, and helped protect the people who had taken her in. She felt stronger, braver, and more capable than ever before. The Martian sky above her dome twinkled with countless stars. Leela stared at them, imagining the endless possibilities of the frontier. She realized that being human wasn't a weakness, it was a strength. Humans could think, adapt, and create solutions in ways no machine could, and she had proven it. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new challenges, but she also knew that she was ready. She had survived storms, drones, and rogue AI. She had learned from Jace, trusted her instincts, and used her mind to succeed. She was no longer the abandoned girl left on the trail. She was a human, clever, resourceful, and capable. And in the harsh, endless frontier of Mars, that made all the difference. The morning light spilled across the red Martian plains, soft and warm, unlike the harsh glare that had greeted Leela on the day she had been abandoned. She stood at the edge of the settlement, her small figure silhouetted against the endless horizon. Today was different. Today, she felt a calm confidence, a sense of belonging she had never known before. Since the attack of the rogue AI machines, the settlement had changed. The settlers had learned from Leela, adopting some of the strategies she had used to protect them. Drones were now programmed with cleverer routines, hovercrafts patrolled more efficiently, and human scouts were trained to notice details no machine could. And Leela. She had grown in ways she had never imagined. Jace approached quietly, his shadow stretching long across the ground. "Morning," he said, his voice steady. "Sleep well." "Yes," Leela replied, smiling. She adjusted her pack and looked out over the settlement. "I've been thinking about everything we've done, about what humans can do." Jace nodded. "You've learned a lot. You've proven that humans are capable of adapting, solving problems, and thinking in ways machines never can. You've grown from a scared, abandoned girl to someone who can face the frontier with courage and skill." Leela felt a warmth in her chest. She remembered the trail, the desert, and the moment her stepmother had left her behind. Those memories no longer carried fear, they carried determination. She had survived, thrived, and learned. She was no longer powerless. "Today," Jace continued, "I want to introduce you to something important. The settlement isn't just about machines or survival. It's about people, humans who support each other. And you, Leela, are part of this family now." Leela's eyes widened. "Family?" she asked softly. "Yes," Jace said, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "Family isn't just about blood. It's about care, trust, and standing together. You've been through a lot, but now you belong here." For the first time, Leela felt a sense of peace. She wasn't alone. She had a mentor, a home, and people who valued her. The thought brought tears to her eyes, but she didn't cry openly. Instead, she allowed herself a small, quiet smile. The morning passed with lessons and routines. Leela helped organize supplies, repaired a hovercraft, and checked the sensor arrays along the settlement's perimeter. Each task reminded her of how far she had come, from a frightened girl abandoned on a trail to a capable, confident young human. By midday, the settlers gathered near the central dome for a meeting. Word of Leela's courage and skill had spread, and everyone wanted to hear from her. Jay stood beside her as she stepped forward. "You've all seen what can happen out here," she began, her voice steady. "The frontier is dangerous. Machines, storms, and even other settlements can challenge us. But humans are clever. We can observe, adapt, and create solutions. We can work together and protect each other. And that's what makes us strong." The settlers listened quietly, their eyes reflecting admiration and hope. Leela realized that her words mattered, that her experience could inspire others. She felt proud, not just for herself, but for all humans who faced challenges and found ways to survive and thrive. After the meeting, Jace led her to the edge of the settlement. Hover horses grazed nearby, and the soft hum of drones filled the air. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small, polished medallion. "This is a symbol of your place here. You've earned it through courage, skill, and heart." Leela took it carefully, turning it over in her hands. The medallion glinted in the sun, engraved with the settlement's emblem and a small, stylized image of a rising sun. She felt a deep connection to it, a symbol of belonging and achievement. "Thank you," she whispered. I'll do my best." Jace smiled. "I know you will." But more than that, I know you'll help others see what humans are capable of. That's the real strength. Not just surviving, but inspiring others to thrive. The afternoon brought a new challenge. A small dust storm began to form in the distance, moving faster than expected. The settlers began preparations, reinforcing domes and securing equipment. Leela moved quickly, applying everything she had learned. She guided hovercrafts to safe positions, adjusted sensor arrays, and helped younger settlers find safe areas. When the storm hit, it was fierce. Red dust whipped through the air and visibility dropped to almost nothing. But the settlement was ready. Thanks to Leela's guidance and the lessons Jace had taught her, everyone was safe. Leela herself navigated through the storm, checking that drones and hovercrafts were secure and ensuring no one was left behind. After the storm passed, the settlement gathered again. Jace looked at her with pride. "You've done more than survive today," he said. "You've protected everyone here. You've proven that humans are clever, resourceful, and capable of facing even the harshest challenges." Leela felt a swell of emotion. She remembered the fear she had felt on the trail, the cold nights and empty spaces. Now she had strength, skills, and a family. She realized that being human wasn't a weakness, it was a gift. Humans could adapt, think, and act in ways no machine could. That evening, as the sun set over the Martian dunes, Leela sat with Jace near the fire. The glow of the flames illuminated their faces and the warmth contrasted with the cold, red desert outside. "Do you remember the first day I found you?" Jace asked. Leela nodded. "Yes, I was scared and alone." "And now?" "And now," Leela said, smiling, "I'm not alone. I have a home, a mentor, and a place in this settlement. I'm human and I can do more than I ever imagined." Jace nodded, placing a hand gently on hers. "Exactly. And that's why humans are special. You've proven it: bravery, intelligence, creativity. That's the real strength." The stars began to shine in the Martian sky, twinkling faintly over the settlement. Leela looked up, feeling a sense of wonder. The frontier was vast, harsh, and challenging, but it was also full of possibility. Humans, small and fragile as they might seem, could face it and thrive. Over the next few days, life in the settlement returned to routine. Leela continued her lessons, helped with tasks, and guided others. Her confidence grew, and she formed friendships with other young settlers. She taught them what she had learned about observation, strategy, and creativity. Slowly, the settlement became stronger, not just because of machines, but because humans were learning to work together, to trust their instincts, and to solve problems. One evening, Jace invited her to the edge of the settlement again. Hover horses grazed nearby, and the red sun dipped low. "Leela," he said, "there's one more thing I want to give you." He handed her a small, worn book filled with notes, sketches, and strategies he had collected over the years. "This is for you. Use it, learn from it, and add your own ideas. One day you'll pass it on to others." That's how humans thrive, sharing knowledge and inspiring each other. Leela held the book close, feeling its weight and significance. She realized that her journey was just beginning. She had been abandoned, left to face the frontier alone. But now she had a home, a family, and a purpose. She would continue to grow, to learn, and to show what humans were capable of, even in the harshest places. That night, Leela lay on her cot, the medallion around her neck and the book beside her. She thought about the trail, the storms, the rogue drones, and everything she had overcome. She felt proud, strong, and ready for whatever the future might hold. For the first time, she truly understood what it meant to belong. She was part of a family, part of a community, and part of a human story that stretched across the Martian frontier. And in that moment, she smiled, knowing that being human was not just a gift, it was a power. The stars shone above her, endless and bright, and Leela knew one thing for certain: she was ready for anything. No longer the abandoned girl left on a trail, Leela had become a young human of courage, ingenuity, and heart, a beacon of hope in the vast, red wilderness of Mars. And that was just the beginning.